My name is Scott Gallagher. I'm from Raritan Learning Cooperative in Flemington, New Jersey, and we are a self-directed cooperative where we have a full-time offering of classes, workshops, mentoring, and trips for young people ages 12 to 18. I'm not going to really say too much about what we do because the best thing is to have our panelists talk about their experiences. So, but I do want to introduce a couple of our other staff members. Mary Beth Healy, say hello, Mary Beth, and Allison Snikes.
Yeah.
And if you'd like to ask a question, you can just speak up or you can post it in the chat. Now to our panelists. First, Caitlin, you want to say hello? Just give a wave, Caitlin.
I'm Caitlin. I've been at RLC for 2 years now.
Okay. Owen.
Hi, I'm Owen. I'm an RLC alumni.
Elena.
Hi, I'm Lena. I've been at RLC for 2 years, 3 years.
Three, I think this is your third.
Yeah. 3.
And Jolie.
Hi, I'm Jolie. I'm an RLC alum.
And Jolie, how many years ago was it that you were at? Was it? It was 2020, right? That you were.
It was 2019.
2019. That's right. Right. Because I remember you were hell bent on finishing high school by 2020. You wanted that to be.
And I did do it.
And you did do that. Yes. Right. Thank you all for being here. Okay, so we're just going to run through each of you, and I think I got the order incorrect there, but so I'm going to change it a little bit. But we are going to start with Caitlin, and so Caitlin, maybe you can just start by talking about what your world was like, sort of leading up to your decision to join RLC.
So prior to joining RLC, I was in public school for my entire life. And I didn't think that there was any alternative. I was like pretty happy. I was okay with it. And COVID happened at the very end of my 8th grade year. So I started high school and my freshman year was totally online, and I started skipping classes. I didn't really want to do anything. I didn't do any work. I spent a lot of the time online playing games. I really was not motivated. I was very depressed, and I had a lot of things going on personally, with health issues with my mom, and just a lot of personal issues going on that really impacted my motivation and my willing to do schoolwork and my ability to care about anything. So I got through my freshman year and I had barely gotten through my classes. I was like all C's, D's, and I was only scraping by basically because my teachers were very compassionate and very willing to work with me and let me get things in as late as they possibly could, things like that. So I was very stressed about the next year, but I was hoping that because it would be in person, things might be a little bit better. Um, and they ended up not being better at all. I would actually say they got worse. I woke up very early every day, um, and I wasn't able to maintain that schedule. I had a lot of things going on still in my personal life. My mom was hospitalized all the time, and I was home taking care of myself for a few weeks at a time. And I just wasn't able to handle that and schoolwork. And I was very sleep deprived. I was very depressed. And I was watching myself fail all my classes basically. Um, and I just really felt like I couldn't do it. I had no expectation that I would like live long enough to even graduate from high school, much less go to college or where I would go to college. Or what I would do after graduating. And my mom was very worried that I was going to drop out, but I did not at the time plan for that. I just didn't know how I was going to get through high school. So she had me look into homeschooling options in the local area, and I was very lucky that the first one that I found was RLC. And so I started going here, and I very much enjoyed it.
Thanks. Thanks. We're gonna go to Lena. What was life like before RLC for you? Oh, is Lena frozen?
In high school my entire life, I always kind of had like unschooled approach that my parents had. I've just been in a lot of different types of schooling groups throughout my life. So it wasn't too much switch to RLC, but I do really enjoy the way that it's structured, because I feel like a lot of the co-ops that do previously were either just a little intense, where it's like I might as well just be in public school at this point, or they were very unsweet. So I think RLC is a very good balance of the two, and I've really enjoyed it.
Thank you. Lena, your internet, your bandwidth is a little bit low. So perhaps when it comes around to your turn again, what might work is to turn off your video.
Okay.
Because sometimes that just helps with the bandwidth. Yeah.
Yeah, you're breaking up a little bit there. Owen.
Yeah.
What was life like before RLC for you?
So I started going to RLC at the end of my 8th grade year in 2018, right, Scott? I think about there. Yeah, around there sounds about right. I was not doing great in schooling, not having fun, not learning anything, or absorbing any of the information that was given out to me. I did not agree with the way I was taught with my math teachers and science. So I had an average of a C minus. So clearly not in the green of anything. I was a year behind in my math, almost a year. I think it was like 11 months behind. But I was not doing great beforehand. Whereas afterwards, when I could do my own schedule and do roughly what I wanted at the pace that I wanted, I got to about a half year ahead of my grade equivalent, I'd say. So that's how it changed while going to RLC. Anything else I should hit?
Can I just ask you what was for you? I feel like there might have been some element of the social piece that was sort of led you to find something different.
Yeah, I wanted to find a decent social life within school because I knew that North Hunterdon was going to be a lot more people, a lot more classes. So I'm not really going to see all my normal friends as often. But with homeschooling, because I thought about doing that for a while, homeschooling was too isolated for me. And I had heard the stereotypes of all homeschoolers and how they can be a bit different. So I wanted to go to this weird place called RLC that was like the perfect middle ground where it was like, oh, it's like 10 people and like I can all intimately know about all these people. So it was just a perfect mix. And I think the first time I went to RLC was that the game night that I went to, or did I just hop in one class? They were around the same time, but it just seemed like a good group.
Yeah, we were much smaller then. Like when you joined, we only had about 10 kids. So now we have 25, something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe more than that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's about it.
So Jolie, how about you?
I was public schooled. I went to Hillsborough High School. And my freshman year of high school, I got sick towards the end. I missed the last marking period. I had some big family changes in my life. But we thought, let's give it another shot. Let me try public school. Sophomore year, I made it through one marking period. And then my mom was a volunteer at RLC, and had me come along to a class or a day, because we were touring some other options in like Pennsylvania. And my mom's like, it's on the way, let's just look. And I remember the atmosphere being the number one thing. You know, it's such a stark contrast from the fluorescent lighting of a public school, and then you have beautiful stained glass. And I just remember thinking about that stained glass, and that's still probably one of the number one things I say to people when I talk about it's like it's a beautiful house, and it is so much easier to learn in a place where you feel a lot more comfortable. So yeah, and then I just never went back to public school after Thanksgiving, and I finished out my sophomore year at RLC.
And for you, if I could just ask you a follow-up question. Um, it seemed for you, it felt like academics were pretty important to you in school.
So that was the interesting thing, is I cared a lot about academics, read a ton, still do. And I felt like I wasn't being challenged, yet I was still getting B's, which is really confusing because nothing wrong with a good, healthy B, but if I'm bored, I should be getting an A. So I was getting B's and I was bored and not challenged at all. And this way I could pursue things in the ways I wanted to pursue them at the pace I wanted. I got to choose exactly what I studied. And it was just a world of difference. And I definitely wouldn't be where I am now had I not made that change.
So if we could double back to Caitlin. So what's your like day-to-day life at RLC, and just how do things change for you?
I would say things changed like a lot more than I had kind of expected. Um, I was able to study all these new topics. Like I started taking classes that I wouldn't have had opportunities to take in public school. Um, like I'm taking a modern physics class now, but last year we had a normal physics class, which was like basic physics, what I would have been learning my junior year anyways. And this has been very focused on like quantum physics, quantum mechanics, and um, I'm very into it. I really much like it. I've gotten to work on studying things independently. I have a math tutor. I'm really enjoying math. I'm really enjoying pre-calculus. I really enjoyed Algebra 2 as well. I have a writing tutor too, which has been very helpful. One of the issues I had actually with transitioning out of school was trying to make sure that I was getting as similar as of an education as I could have gotten in public school. I'm sorry. And one of those things was keeping up with my writing, keeping up with reading enough, and I struggled a lot with that last year. Because everything's self-directed, it's easy to fall behind if you don't put the work in, because there's no grades, there's no one really like keeping you up there. Things aren't graded like every time you put an assignment in or every time you get something done. So there's no motivation with that. But I have found it to be okay because I wasn't really motivated by that anyways in school. Um, but a day at RLC, I'm sorry, for me is normally just going to classes and then eating my lunch wherever on my free hours. Um, there's a lot of classes. There's like every hour is a class. I don't think there's a single hour in the week where there's not a class going on. I'm not attending all of them, but they're very packed basically, and you can fill your schedule how you want. You don't need to take a certain amount of credits, or there's not a limit to the amount of credits. As long as you can fit whatever you want in your schedule, you can take it. I really like that too because I have bounced back and forth between classes some weeks where there's this class at an hour that I have another class, and I want to go to both, but I'd like to attend one sometimes and attend the other sometimes. And I would say the social aspect too has been a big change. I was really nervous and very quiet and shy in public school. I kept my head down a lot of the time because I didn't want to be bothered or picked on or anything. And I ended up having that happen anyways. I couldn't really get away from it. But people, it's a less large community. I went to a very small school, like 1,000 kids in the high school, um, and an even smaller middle school. And this has been way smaller than either of those, even. And so the community is more tight knit, and people are friendly with each other even when they don't know them, because no one's really like a stranger. You know someone who's friends with that person, most likely, if you know like literally anyone at the school. So it's been nice and more welcoming, and everyone's like not as standoffish as I was used to.
Can I, would it be fair to say that you don't keep your head down?
I'm sorry.
Would it be fair to say that you don't keep your head down?
Yeah, I think no, it definitely would be fair to say that.
And please share, as you were talking before about reading, I was hoping that you'd share the book that you chose to read.
Um, well, I was not really reading a lot last year. I was basically before RLC as well. I wasn't really reading. I used to be a very big reader, and then I pretty much stopped. And in high school, was only reading for my literature classes, um, and my honors classes. And now over the summer, I started reading again. I finished Watership Down, which was very cute. Um, I finished Crime and Punishment last month, I think. Um, and I'm currently working through something by Terry Pratchett. I don't remember the name. And I'm hoping to get more into Russian literature, the classics, because I had a really good time reading Crime and Punishment. It was very good. And I would like to read more Dostoevsky. And it also supplements, I'm learning Russian on my own. So it's supplementing that, which has been something that I wouldn't have gotten in public school at all. Another bonus, I really like being able to work things into my schedule as a class on my own time. It's just something that you have to put the effort into, and I feel like I've been able to do that, which has been really beneficial for me.
Thanks. Lena? So, what's your life like at RLC?
Is this sound good or should I?
It does.
Is the
Yeah,
sound
yeah.
good? Okay.
Yes.
Well, I used to be there every day that RLC is open all day. But recently I started classes at RVCC. So my day to day is a little busy. I am at RVCC in the mornings on Mondays, and then I um, drive over to RLC afterwards to do a spirituality class with Janae. And then Tuesdays I have classes all day at RVCC. Thursdays I have RLC in the morning and then RVCC later in the day. And then I have Fridays kind of up in the air sometimes. It usually depends on my workload for the week or other stuff going on, but I do like to try to get to RLC as much as I can. But yeah, I mean, it's been a bit busy, but I've really liked how flexible it's been to just kind of have the two um, and keep on top of the classes that are important to me at RLC while being able to still pursue classes at RVCC. Yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks. So, Owen, what did your day to day look like? Oh, I think you're muted, Owen.
Hello again. So I went to RLC for 4 years, and in that time it changed a lot. It would go from spending all day every day at RLC from the second it starts to the second it ends, all the way down to like, oh, I'd miss like 2 days a week, 3 days a week. It really didn't matter. I really did a pendulum swing of I would try and attend every single class I absolutely could at all times just to fill up my day because I don't want to be sitting around all day. To admittedly, during the summertime when I'd get a little bit more lax with what I was doing and I'd go and walk over to the park and play soccer or something like that. So it would really range for me. But yeah, that's about it.
Or there is one thing that I feel like for me stands out that kind of leads into life after RLC that was a particular area of study. You talk about that, like Will meeting
Oh
Will.
yeah. I forgot about that. I would often spend a lot of time with my Japanese teacher, Will. He had taught me for 2.5, 3 years Japanese weekly, and I had taken my own initiative on my free time with learning that and taking that up and bringing my parents like, hey, I really want to go to Japan and do some things out in the world before I go to work for the rest of my life. And they said, oh, well, you're doing really well in Japanese. It clearly shows, so yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's
Yeah,
pretty
and
good.
just to fill in a little detail there, your tutor Will was, I mean, he was only a couple of years older than you, if that, right? I mean,
Yeah, he was maybe 2 years older than me.
yeah, and he lived in Los Angeles, and he was attending a self-directed learning cooperative out there called Alcove, and so he connected the two of you, and um, and yeah, that was a great relationship that you two had. You learned a lot with him.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, I'd say that's about it.
Okay, thanks, Julie. Do you remember?
Um,
There we go.
I hope so. So it was definitely an abrupt shift, especially because I joined mid-year. Um, but abrupt in probably the best way is that I kind of feel like I was shook to my senses of, this is what learning should be like. And so I started in November and I did RLC through the end of the year. And in January, I started taking classes at RV. So I was only taking 2 classes. So I think 2 days a week I had, and shout out to my mom for driving me around because I had a 7 a.m. class at RV, after which I'd go to RLC. And then I had a 3 p.m. class at RV. So that was a lot, but I loved it. Going to community college in high school was an incredible move that I couldn't have done without RLC, while also having the support and structure. I got to be in college while having the support and structure of high school and the team at RLC. And I'm a figure skater, so I was skating a lot more than I am now. In high school, I loved coaching, so I could skate more. It was a great option for athletes. So I was able to skate more. I was able to coach more. I was able to go to RV. What else did I do?
I remember
I
you
think those were the
studied
big things.
chemistry. Didn't you study chemistry on your own? Was that one of the things?
Yeah, I did a little bit of chemistry, did a little bit of algebra too. Um, just a touch.
I think did you also take some AP tests?
No, I never
Didn't do
took an
any AP
AP.
tests. Oh, okay.
My RV credits transferred to my undergraduate. So
And then when you left RLC, you did one. Well, I guess we'll get to that. We won't. I won't spoil it. We'll get to that. We'll come back to it. I was gonna say, because you weren't done with high school when you left RLC, right? Okay. All right. So let's double back then to Caitlin. Caitlin, what's your plan? What's your plan? At least your current plan beyond RLC.
My current plan is going to college right now. I have applied to about 14 schools, maybe give or take a few. I've heard back from about half, and I've gotten into so far everyone that I've applied to. I cannot thank my writing tutor enough for the help that she provided me. On my essays, I have done a lot of impromptu essay writing this year. I applied for NISLE, which is an international kind of language exchange that left me having to harass her over a very short weekend to help look over about 5 or 6 essays, and she was very helpful. But I am not sure exactly what I want to do as far as majors, but I feel very confident, specifically from my experience that I've gotten from RLC, that I'll figure it out. I feel like I have skills now that I didn't feel I had in public school. I can take care of myself with my learning. I know there's a direct connection between I need to do this and I know why I need to do this and how this is going to benefit me in the future. And so when I make choices, and when I will make choices for my education, which will start with picking a college in the fall, or the summer rather. It feels like a long time away, but it's really not. I feel that I will be confident in it and I will make that right choice. Which is something that it wouldn't sit right with me. A few years ago, I was very nervous about my future. Every summer I would freak out because I would feel like, oh my gosh, I'm going to college sooner and sooner. And I don't know what to do. And I don't think I'll know what to do by the time I'm a senior. And I found my peace with it, with the support I've gotten from RLC. And yeah, so I'm very grateful. And I'm very grateful to my mentor, by the way,
Can
Allison.
I ask you one thing? Because if it wasn't that long ago that you were totally focused on going into the military.
Yeah, when I joined RLC, I didn't really have anything in mind. But Allison mentioned what I was going to do after graduating, and when I was in middle school, I had an interest in joining the military, and I kind of, without any other option, it felt like at the time, I returned to the interest of it, and I started working out more. I was running like 4-ish miles a week, not that, sorry, miles, and like 2 or 3 times a week. And I kind of devoted a lot of my time into studying the MOS that I wanted to go into. I wanted to go into infantry at the time, but it was not plausible. The deadlift requirements, I don't think I could do for my height. But I still haven't totally cut that option out yet. I'm thinking that if I have any desire to after I graduate college, I might do it afterwards. But I had a lot of support from the staff and specifically Allison. Thank you again. In that, and I was actually, by now, if I had gone through with it, I would be shipping off to basic in like 2 months in June or July. That's way more than 2 months. Sorry. But yeah, that was my plan, and my plans changed, and I am glad that I didn't permanently close the door, but I am definitely glad to have been able to have time to make the choice.
Thanks. So Lena, what's your post RLC plan?
I'm still a little unsure, really. I mean, you've heard the back and forth in all of our mentoring. Um, but right now I'm taking classes at RVCC for interior design, and I'm taking an ASL class. And last semester I took a nutrition class, all of which I'm very passionate about and love learning about. Um, so I I really have enjoyed community college, which I didn't think I would at all for some reason. I don't really know why. I kind of have the 4-year college like glorified in my head. Um, but I've really enjoyed it, and um, I think that I'll continue to move forward with it. As of right now, I kind of want to take a gap year after I officially graduate high school, and finish up this set of classes that I'm doing right now, just to kind of work and travel and just have a year to kind of like figure myself out. And then I'll honestly probably continue to take more classes and explore different things at RVCC, and maybe there'll be a 4-year college along the way, maybe not. I don't know. But yeah.
Thanks. So Owen, so you just finished this past June, Owen. So what have you been doing for the past, what, 9 months or so?
Oh my lordy lord, I've done a lot. So oh my gosh, I have to remember, like 4 months ago, what is it, June 2023 I left. So around there. Well, I started with taking a gap year. I'm in the middle of my gap year still. I decided to try and go abroad and learn more Japanese and actually experience some of the language myself, because learning it from another white guy who's never been out of the country, I love Will, but it wasn't as accurate as a native speaker actually speaking the language. But also through getting my Eagle Scout, I realized I had a passion for volunteering. So what we had actually done is I had looked and I had found the, you know, best bang for your buck. I could do volunteering and I could also do a language of my choice. So I picked this 3-month program where I would first go to Europe for a month, where I had gone to London, Spain, or Barcelona, Spain, Amsterdam, France, and one other small Lithuanian-esque country that I don't remember the name of. Then we had taken a month and I'd taken my language school in Japan, where I would commute 40 minutes along the really bustling streets of Tokyo and their really busy subway. And I'd pass through Shibuya Crossing every day, and it was really cool. Then after the month in Japan, I had spent a month island hopping in Thailand and helping elephants, because they're often abused in Thailand and used for labor, even though it's illegal. And then I had also volunteered with school children in, oh my gosh, I have it written down, in Chiang Mai, which is like one of the bigger cities up north. And I had gone down near an island off Krabi, which is one of their like really popular vacation spots. And I had helped a lot of school children there. So yeah, that's about what I did. Oh, and then after that trip, my goodness. After that trip, when I came home. I went again to Europe, and I went to what if it 3 more countries: Germany, Czechia, and Austria. That was just because. And then it looks like, yeah, I just got a job recently. I mean, that was fun. And I've been studying under my dad. Like he has a couple electricians that are at his plant, along with himself being an electrical engineer. I'm just studying under them to see if I want to do electrician school or just be a full-on electrical engineer. So that's what I'm doing right now.
Awesome. I didn't know that last bit.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
new.
I see. So Jolie, how about you? So how did you make your way out of RLC?
You're gonna have to stop me if I get too long-winded, because we have about 5 years to
Okay.
get through. Um, so I graduated RLC in 2019. That same summer, I did a program at Harvard for heritage Russian speakers. And so people that were probably born here and were raised in a Russian speaking home. So that was number one. Then I continued taking classes at RV. Simultaneously, I was working with autistic kids, and I was also a skating coach, and I also worked snack bar in the rink where I coached for a little bit. I only lasted 3 months. I am not smart enough for food service, is what I learned. And I don't like smelling like a French fry all the time. So I continued taking classes at RV. So this is January 2020. And we all know what happened in March of 2020. So I was taking classes at RV. Everything shut down. I was taking my classes online. And at this point, we were seriously trying to figure out how I'm going to finish high school, because I'm not in public school. I'm not an RLC. It's up to me basically to figure out what was going to happen. And I got bored and decided to apply to college. So I applied to 2 schools. I applied to Brandeis University and Northeastern University. Well, and that summer I actually, yeah, okay. So I was still taking classes at RV in fall of 2020. I got into Brandeis, which was my dream school, and that's where I went in January of 2021. So I applied directly for the next semester, which no one knew I could do, much less the school. Everyone I spoke to was like, oh, I didn't know you could do that. But it was an option when I was applying. So I ended up graduating high school in 3.5 semesters. And my goal of graduating in 2020 was mostly based off of the fact that it's a nice number. It's a nice looking number. That was, I wasn't super committed to finishing early, just to finish early. It was the number. So I started my freshman year at Brandeis. And I'm actually graduating from Brandeis in May. So I'm doing 7 semesters at Brandeis. I am a public health and psychology major, so I'm double majoring. And in fall of my sophomore year, I started working as a lab tech in the fly kitchen, where I made food for flies, which was actually really fun. And I also started working at a domestic tuberculosis advocacy organization. And I got that because I applied to another job, got rejected, but the hiring manager liked me and hired me for another job. I love TB. You know, I thought it would be a temporary thing. I love TB and I will be working with TB for the rest of my life. And so then I started coaching in Massachusetts as well. I continued to work in TB, and 7 months later, I actually applied for the job that I got rejected from in the first place, got that one. So I started doing research on substance use and mental health at Brandeis for Behavioral Health Center in Boston. I did a couple other things here and there, and those were my two big passions. And I think that's the nicest thing about coming from homeschooling. I cared so much about my work being my learning experience that, you know, it's not all in a classroom. And I think that was my biggest takeaway from RLC, is the hands-on is what really matters. In my junior year, I also did an internship at the Department of Public Health, Office of Preparedness and Emergency Management. Loved that. And so I had my contracts end in December. So now I am a full-time researcher at a private research and consulting company while I finish up my degree. So I am in the office 8 to 5, then I run to class from 5:30 to 7. And I'm writing my senior honors thesis on anxiety in a Hispanic population. So I got into 2 schools for my MPH, which is a Master of Public Health degree, and I'm considering going in the fall. And I think that's all of my life updates.
Thanks. Could I just ask one little detail? So did you ever officially graduate high school or get your GED?
No.
Or did you didn't? Okay. All right.
Nope.
I wasn't sure if that was part of the process. So you just you were in RVCC and then you just applied to Brandeis and you just went there, never actually having that high school diploma in hand. Yeah.
That is correct. And I also did not have any AP tests. And this was just timing with COVID, but I didn't actually have an SAT or ACT either. What I will say is that our VCC was really, really helpful in I got to make my mistakes and learn how college works before the stakes were really high. And I had all the support of RLC while figuring out how to be a college student. So,
yeah. So thank you. I'm looking at the time. It's 7:48. I did want to ask one question actually, because it's not necessarily all rosy, right? Like like being a self-directed learner is there's a lot of so I thought that, does anybody have any thought about like the challenge of that? I mean, there's got to be sort of, yeah, go ahead, Caitlin.
I would definitely say one issue that I felt like I experienced my first year, so last year, was it was a really kind of rough transition for me. I was used to going to public school every day, sitting through the class, getting my classwork done, then leaving school and doing homework and or not doing it and having some form of like hand forcing me basically in a direction, and that was completely gone when I stopped going to public school. And so the transition of that and having to actually do everything that I had signed up for and now having like a limit as to what I could pursue was it was very daunting, and I didn't have the motivation at the time um, to do it properly, and I could have definitely used that first year in a more efficient and wiser way than I did, which was a lot of like slacking off. And this year, I feel like I have a much better grasp on it. I've taken on a lot of things outside of school. I have been working very hard on my studies, and I would say I'm getting more out of it than when I wasn't, which is just how homeschooling goes. If you don't end up doing any of the work, there's no like teacher lecture or anything just sitting in class really to like get you through it. It's basically all on you. And if you're not dedicated to that, then you're going to waste the opportunities, I think. Or you could, not necessarily, but you will.
Well, can I add to that though, or maybe put a little finer point on it? Because I would say you're it is up to you for sure,
Mhm.
and you are ultimately the one making the decision, like how you spend your time. Um, and then your mentor is there to be like, so how's math going? Right? And you can be like,
Mhm.
not so good, or oh, I'm killing it. um so we can be there to be the sort of gentle reminder. But ultimately, yeah, I mean, and it can be a struggle. I don't know, anyone else want to share, like, have any struggle sometimes with motivation, or choosing to do the less fun thing over the more fun thing, Owen?
I will personally say, coming from public school, I hated when I started driving and I couldn't take the bus. If I felt tired, I couldn't just wake up like 10 minutes later and get on the bus if I'm feeling tired and want to get to school. Like every day I would have to drive me. So I'd say that was an actual downside, I wouldn't say, or I don't know. It's just something that didn't make me happy about going in some days. When it's cold and I have to go warm up the car. Oh.
Okay.
So that's about it.
Lena, Jolie, no pressure, no pressure if you weigh in here.
I kind of feel like I agree with what Caitlin said. Like you have to apply yourself, and that's kind of a daunting thing. But I mean, for me, it hasn't been too much of a switch since I have been homeschooled my entire life. Um, but I it's easy to slack off when you have the option.
Yeah, yeah, no question, no question. I mean, adults, have trouble with this. It's like, I'd rather watch Netflix than do that work that I need to do. So for sure. Um, well, we've got about 7 minutes. We only have a couple of guests here, but we could open it up to questions if there are any questions. Or Allison or Mary Beth, if you want to ask a question.
Well, I could ask. Yeah, I think one of the things that we do that you don't get in high school is mentoring, and maybe it's useful to talk about what that's like for you, like to work one-on-one with one of the staff members at RLC, because it's really different than like meeting with a guidance counselor in high school. I think so. I don't know. That might be useful to talk about. I mean, of course, we're all here, so you don't just have to like praise us and, oh, it was fabulous, blah, blah, to talk honestly, what it's like. Like,
Caitlin, you want to share?
I would say it's definitely different than high school meetings with my guidance counselor. Um, I did not really like my guidance counselor in public school. I have spoken to her several times since leaving, and she's very lovely to work with. Outside of when she is my guidance counselor, I did not like her for that. Um, but working with my counselor has been really awesome. She's gotten to give me advice from like a very personal perspective. I feel like Allison has been with me basically all the way for homeschooling, and so the help that I get from her, and the advice that I get from her, I take to heart, because it's not just I'm meeting with her once a month and she has 60 other kids that she's meeting with, and I'm just a name, or I'm just a face um, among them. And so I think that's been very helpful. And it's very obvious to me that she cares about where I go in the future and what I'm doing. And she wants me to get all the opportunities I can. Like, she actually found the program that I applied to study abroad. She found it for me the Friday before I applied, actually, and it was a really awesome opportunity to get to apply. And I wish I had gotten in, but I learned something regardless. Um, and so things like that, like I would not have been able to do, or I would not have found if I didn't have such like genuine support from a mentor. And I meet with her once a week and she checks in on me. And so it's like it's a genuine relationship. It's not as much as like public school counselor relationships in my experience are, where it's some woman or man kind of bothering you about studies, and then that's it, and then it's 15 minutes and you have to leave because they have someone else coming in. So I think it's nice. I've gotten a lot out of it.
Thanks, Caitlin. Mike, do you have any questions specifically that you'd like to ask?
I don't. Normally I'm the guy who raises their hand and asks questions, so I'm trying to do better with that, not be so questioning. But honestly, I didn't really come expecting to have any, answers or anything like that. I just want to give my respect for these young folks for sharing their stories. I know that they're going to be really great people. And it seems like, it's so important to be able to follow your own interests. That's definitely one of the things that we've been looking for is like, how do you find something that is of interest enough to pursue it, to stretch your mind a little bit, experience new things. I think that's one of the big challenges, like how do you help a young person experience new stuff? And it seems like creating an opportunity for them to ask that question of themselves is a good way to go. I think that's what you're fostering, and that's what I seem to be hearing. And it makes me feel good. So thanks again for sharing.
Thanks. Yeah, well, that about brings us to the end. So thank you, guests, for coming, and thank you, panelists, Caitlin, Owen, Lena, Jolie, much appreciated.
Yeah, no problem.
And panelists, if you want to just stick around for just a brief minute, that'd be nice. Thanks, Mike. Take care.